It's Emil. It's Emil Guillermo. Emil, Amok to you. You have found us. Wow, it sounds a little tinny. The mic. Perhaps I have the right mic on? I have to make sure. Making sure that we have. Well, it says I've got the right mic on. Uh, sounds like there's something I've done here to the machine. I think it's okay. Hey, listen. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to my Emil Amok's Takeout, my takes on all things considerable. My name is Emil, the aforementioned Amok. Emil Guillermo. Yeah, of course. We're here Monday through Friday, or we try to be, at least live or recorded as live. We're live today because it's a Friday, and there's so much to talk about. If you're engaged or if you're otherwise engaged in the issues of the world, I mean, some people just get like they want to distance themselves. They are seeking an escape from the these social political realm because it's not pleasant, and you don't know what's going to happen when you do mention something, and then when you see someone nod approvingly, then you say, "Oh, I'm with my people. I'm with my tribe." This is especially true for artists, especially true for people who express themselves in public. But look, wherever you are, you should be able to engage and just not worry about a knockdown, drag-out fight. You should be interested, or you should just be happy that you live in a nation where free speech is assured. And that's why when people ask me, well, why do you do this rogue stuff, Emil? I do the rogue stuff. It's not just rogue stuff. I'm at the Rogue Festival. It's in Fresno. My final night is on Saturday. But I do the rogue, I do performance because it is an act of free speech. And it's storytelling, it's narrative, it's a combination of some personal autobiographical narrative combined with where are you in society? What is your role or your place in society today? And how does that resonate with your life? And then how does that resonate with other people who see you as really an extension of them? You're on stage in the lights telling a story, but your story is universal. It should be. If you're telling it in public, that's what makes you relatable. You find out about these things when you perform in public. And I guess I've been performing at fringe festivals and these solo festivals. I've done about nine of them now over the years. Remember, there was that pandemic break, 2 years. Had to do stuff online. I'm not really counting them, but I should. If I count the online things I've done, it gets into, double digits. It's expression. And then I do these things because I just want to let something out that day. So you do it because you can. You do it because you have an urge to share something. And like I said last night, I don't know, did you watch President Biden's speech? I mean, some people said, like I'm with him, or maybe you're not with him, but I don't want to get into that political stuff. And people are getting to the point where they have fatigue. You cannot have fatigue about these matters. I mean, I know it's easy to say, "Oh, I'm just tired of this. I want it to end." No, if you want it to end, it will end sooner than you think, and that's not good. Not good for the nation. It's not good for anybody. You got to be engaged, whether or not it's just okay. I'll catch it. I'll catch the speech after I do my show, and I caught most of the speech after I did a 5:00 or 5:30 at the Lotus Room in the Tower District at Tower Yoga on Olive Avenue in Fresno. I'm back there tomorrow at 5 o'clock, my last show. So please show up. And if you're curious, I'll share with you the Rogue Festival website. Here's the website. Emil, Amok, Lost NPR host, married to PETA, and other untold tales from an American Filipino life. And it's go to Fresno Rogue, ROGUE festival.org. You'll get to the website and then find me. Put in Emil Amok, 2 words. And you see my upcoming shows. I did yesterday was great. Thursday the 7th was great. And here's the thing: when you do more than one show, is I'll do 5 here in Fresno. New lines come up, things come up. You're in the throes of performance, and something comes up. A lot of good things happened last night, different things, and then the 9th. Oh, 9, lucky number. The 9th of anything, 9th of any month is a good time. 5 o'clock to 6. Get there, and something good's going to happen on the last day. Because it's a culmination of all these things. So this is at the. Let's see. I'm going to click on the 9th. Here it is. Emil, Amok, Lost NPR host, married to PETA, and other untold tales from an American Filipino life. Oh, there I am with my gong. Don't worry, I don't play the gong forever. I really don't. And you buy your tickets there. It's at the Lotus Room, 626 East Olive Avenue. So check it out and go to the website, the Fresno Rogue Festival.org. The first line is, Emil Amok is like John Leguizamo's Latin History for Dummies, only more uniquely American Filipino. And I don't insult you by calling you a dummy. I just say, you're ignorant and you have a reason. I mean, really, that's the way it is. So anyway, that's my show, and that's one of many shows. Today is Friday. I'm not performing. I'm going to go down to Fresno, and I'm going to see so many shows. I'm going to see Jaguar Bennett's show, a couple others. I don't have the list here, but I've got, if you've ever heard about the Edinburgh Fringe in Scotland, that's the Big Daddy Fringe. And all these other fringes are sort of like in the spirit of. And usually it's like people get together. It's a volunteer sort of thing, volunteer organization that puts it on, usually. They pass a hat after the performers come. People from all over the area come and support the fringe. And that's why people like the Rogue. I talked to Martin Dockery. Catch a show that I did with him, an interview on my YouTube channel. I think it's 661. And he talks about the fringe. And Martin is one of the premier performers. He's at the fringe. His last show is tomorrow on Saturday as well. So many good performers. Joey Rinaldi is there. Susan Jeremy from New York is there. Donnie Yarborough came to my show last night, and she does a show called Titillated. And oddly enough, you make friends at these things. And we participated in a slam poetry contest earlier this week, which I was a last minute at. Someone got sick or someone couldn't make it. And so I got to do a slam poem, which I've always wanted to do, but I just didn't have enough rap. I thought I needed more rap into my, it's nothing about that. And of course, just like it was like a slam poetry kind of thing, where people like snapping their fingers. It was kind of cool. People laughed also, and it was a great time. And almost as great as some of the reception I got from audiences that have come to see my show. So anyway, go to FresnoRogueFestival.org, see the rest of the remaining lineup, because the last final days of the festival, Friday and Saturday. I'll be repeating this all throughout the weekend. Saturday is the absolute last day. That's when my show is on at 5 o'clock at the Tower Room or the Lotus Room in Tower Yoga. It's in the Tower District. It was such a cool district. You know, like some people don't know Fresno. They'll say, Fresno, is that Stockton? No. Is that? Oh, it's definitely not Stockton. Is it Modesto? No, it's not Modesto. No, definitely not Modesto. It's its own thing. But you know, you don't when you pass it on Highway 99. You don't know. Do I get off here? Do I dare get off at Fresno? I don't know any people in Fresno. I know people in Fresno now. I mean, Fresno, gateway to Yosemite. I mean, if you're friends with Half Dome, you better be friends with Modesto. You know, Half Dome has a big ego. I know, but Fresno, more modest and friendly and very artsy. They've got a little arts community there going. And I swear, you can't walk without bumping into a tattoo parlor. I felt bad that I'm not inked up in the right way. But who knows? Maybe I'll get there one day. And then I'll say, hey, I've got some time. Maybe I'll get a little thing, like an F. I'll think, oh, F for Filipino, Emil? No, F for Fresno. F for Fresno. Anyway, so there. I got to talk about the Fringe because it is the thing. It's a thing. If you happen to be in the Central Valley, close to Fresno, you know, Merced, Madeira, Kingsdale, is it? If you're Bakersfield, hey, if I were in Bakersfield, I would want to leave immediately and drive to Fresno to see the Fringe. And if I were, say, all right, look, if you're on the East Coast or somewhere around the United States, and you said, well, Emil, if I left now, I might be able to make it to your show on Saturday because I'm in Montana, I'm in New York, I'm in Washington, D.C. Well, yeah, start driving. Red Bull, no sugar, and that's fine. But you know, the Fresno Rogue is coming up or ending soon. Saturday, last show, and then there's a big party. Coming up for me after this, I go to the New York City Fringe under St. Mark's in April, and then in May I'm in Orlando. That is the big Fringe for Fringe folks. The Orlando Fringe. I went there once. It was fantastic, and I think compared to all the other Fringes, it's bigger, but that doesn't make it better. I mean, Fresno is nice, it's contained, it's big, it's as big as it should be, but Orlando really is a big one, and it's fun. And you get to meet all the people who tour through Canada and Australia, and some of them venture over to Edinburgh. A couple of my friends I met there in Orlando have gone to Edinburgh. Edinburgh is a gas. I don't know if when I'll be ready for Edinburgh because it takes a commitment to perform. I think you got to perform. You can't perform the entire festival, 30 days. But you know, some people do a week, 2 weeks. But it's Europe. It's the World Fringe in Edinburgh. I guess that's sort of a goal. Anyway, my show finishes up at the Fresno Rogue Festival on Saturday. I hope to see you there. Go to FresnoRogueFestival.org. Okay, so that is the Fringe. Oh, there I am with my gong. Believe me, if you don't like gongs, I don't bang it more than like 20 times. Actually, it's a little like gong karaoke. Kulintang karaoke. I've got real artsy Kulintang music playing while I'm not just going through the motion. Oh, you'll have to see the show. You'll have to see the show. Anyway, all right. So I want to talk about the State of the Union because I was doing my show and I said I'm going to catch it when I leave. I left the show 6:30 and caught most of the big parts. 6:30 and 7:30 and 8:30 and 9:30 and 10:30 and 11:30 and 12:30 and 1:30 and 2:30 and 3:30 and 4:30 and 5:30 and 6:30 and 7:30 and 8:30 and 9:30 and 10:30 and 11:30 and 12:30 and 1:30 and 2:30 and 3:30 and 4:30 and 5:30 and 6:30 and 7:30 and 8:30 and 9:30 and 10:30 and 11:30 and 12:30 and 1:30 and 2:30 and 3:30 and 4:30 and 5:30 and 6:30 and 7:30 and 8:30 and 9:30 and 10:30 and 11:30 and 12:30 and 1:30 and 2:30 and 3:30 and 4:30 and 5:30 and 6:30 and 7:30 and 8:30 and 9:30 and 10:30 and 11:30 and 12:30 and 1:30 and 2:30 and 3:30 and 4:30 and 5:30 and 6:30 the things that stuck with me, I wrote about in my column, but also I went back and saw the beginning, and the beginning was something else. If all you did was watch the first 2 minutes of President Biden, and I'm talking about 2 minutes after all the applause, when they introduce him and he comes out. I'm telling you, and I wrote this: Biden shows he's ready for the fight. It's going to be on my on the website, Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, at some point. But this is essentially the text. I said, State of the Union address. It's more like President Biden's Save the Nation address. And frankly, he had me at hello, or more specifically, Hitler. He said Hitler. Whenever anyone says Hitler in the State of the Union address, I mean, your ears perk up, right? President Joe Biden started his State of the Union address by quoting President Franklin Delano Roosevelt on January 1941, saying, I address you at a moment unprecedented in the history of the Union. And then Biden channeled Roosevelt. Hitler was on the march, he said. War was raging in Europe. Hitler was on the march. War was raging in Europe. President Roosevelt's purpose, said Biden, was to wake up Congress and alert the American people that this was no ordinary moment. Biden said, freedom and democracy were under assault in the world. Tonight, I come to the same chamber to address the nation. The president was equating Hitler with Putin's invasion of Ukraine and with Donald Trump's acquiescence to Putin. Said Biden, my predecessor, a former Republican president, tells Putin, do whatever the hell you want. Biden said, quoting Trump. A former American president actually said that, bowing down to a Russian leader. It's outrageous, it's dangerous, it's unacceptable, Biden said. But it's a reality that the majority of Republicans want Trump to be our next president. If the Hitler part of the State of the Union address wasn't enough to convince you that whatever the Republicans are cooking up is not so great for democracy, then wait. There are other parts of the speech all Americans can feast on. It's a long list that should have any sane American running as fast as they can from Trump. Before last night, they hadn't been. I mean, how is it that a freedom-loving country like America can have the majority of its Republicans embracing a man who represents the same threat to American democracy as Hitler? Maybe they can't see themselves as a threat because they see the rest of us as such strong enemies. Which brings us to the other line in Biden's State of the Union address that may well be the single most powerful one in the speech. You can't just love your country when you win, Biden said. Of course, you work together, right? Winners and losers to make a better America. You find common ground. You're on the same team. You don't stop the peaceful transition of power with an attempted insurrection. Oh, I know one party that did that. You don't proclaim as a party that the election was stolen and continue to deny the legitimacy of an election to this very day. Oh, that sounds familiar. You don't stop a real compromise on immigration because it makes for a GOP campaign issue. Oh, that's actually happening now. That's why there's no immigration bill passed. You don't balk at any real solutions because it's better for you to continue to fight and argue about fixing a problem. Oh, that's what some do-nothing folks in Congress are doing. It's exactly what we see from the Republicans. Most of the GOP response to Biden's speech has been negative, of course, saying that Biden, he was the one dividing the country, not unifying it. But Biden last night wanted to bring us all together. I mean, I read the speech, I heard the speech, I saw a corrected speech, versus the actual the stuff they put out before I saw the actual transcript of what he said. And it wasn't just based on ideology, it was based on class. He boasted about the good economy. The facts are undeniable. He cited historic job growth, small business growth for Black, Hispanic, and Asian Americans are all up. A shout out to Asian Americans, of which I am one. 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. Most people with health insurance than ever before, thanks to Obamacare, which Republicans want to ditch. The racial wealth gap is the smallest in 20 years. You've got inflation dropping from 9% to 3%, the lowest in the world and trending lower, Biden said. Now, if the political phrase, it's the economy stupid, is in play in 2024, it should buoy Biden up. But most Americans see the economy like the weather forecast. There's the actual temperature, and then there's that feels like. And Americans are having trouble feeling good about just how good things really are. And Biden gave assurances for all. He said, quote, I'm determined to turn things around so the middle class does well, the poor have a way up, and the wealthy still does well. We all do well. Not just some of us. Not just the 1%. Who else but Biden is talking like that we all do well? I mean, that's not what you hear from Republicans who under Trump enacted a $2 trillion tax cut that Biden said, quote, overwhelmingly benefits the very wealthy and the biggest corporations and exploited the federal deficit. And the facts are there. The national debt rose by 39% under Trump to $27.8 trillion. That's higher than any other presidency. And it was tax cuts to the rich that did it, of course. I mean, that's what happens when you cut out income. The nation's debt rises. So much for conservative values. Biden promised a fairer tax code where billionaires who pay just 8% now pay their fair share. And he vowed to change the fact that 55 of the biggest companies that made $40 billion in profits paid zero in federal income taxes. So those are the things that stood out for me. And certainly Biden has said something to that, has mentioned things like that in the past. But in a speech like this, that stood out. I mean, there were other things too. He mentioned the Freedom to Vote Act and John Lewis and, Gaza and Israel. I'll talk about them throughout the campaign as they become real, as they become things that are substantive. But Biden came out strong and got stronger. And probably the biggest thing he did, he put to rest any slams, any ageist slams against him, that he lacks the energy and the stamina. No problem there. We saw it at the speech. The other guy, the presumptive Republican nominee, whom Biden never named. I name him in my piece because, there he is. He's Trump. He's not Mr. Trump. I mean, a lot of people use the New York Times guide or style. On second reference, President Trump is Mr. Trump. On second reference, he's just lucky to be Trump, in my book. So I think the real concern should be in that other guy, right? And it's not just energy and interest and memory, the kind of ageist things that the GOP is doing at Biden. I think the real concern should be in his intellect and his interest in doing what's right for the American people, for our country. I mean, just based on the last couple weeks, last couple months, is Trump even smart enough to do the right thing and care about more than just himself? Because as you can see, he's accused of criminal acts when he acts about just himself. So Biden's speech was probably more political than any State of the Union address in the past. But I think it was a speech that had to be given now, as the country finds itself at a crossroads, at home and in the world. We're in a divided country, divided nation. The stark differences must be pointed out so glaringly so that America makes the right choice in November. That's how real the threat to democracy is in 2024. When Biden is forced to mention Hitler, you know, these are serious times. So that's my column. It's in the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund site. It'll be there, and I distribute it to other papers as well. Emil, Amok, my column, the companion to this. Hey, thank you for being here. I'm going to go off to see the Rogue and see the festival. Jaguar Bennett's his piece on evil, funny. You know, if you can handpick an audience, you'll want Jaguar Bennett. He's like Man About Town in Fresno, but you'll want Jaguar because he has a laugh that if you make him laugh in Fresno, you can hear it in San Jose. You can hear his laugh from Fresno. I think he can even go to Oakland, maybe Marin County. Strong laugh from Jaguar. Anyway, and so a reminder, FresnoRogueFestival.org to get tickets to all the remaining shows. Mine is on Saturday at 5 p.m. at the Tower Room, but there are so many others. Martin Dockery's finishing up, doing his last show on Saturday. Like I said, I did an interview with Martin on show, I believe it was show 662, 663, I think 662, where he talks about what we do and how it's not improv, how it's not really extemporaneous speaking. I mean, you're speaking, you're in the oral tradition, you're speaking not necessarily off the cuff. You are prepared. You're prepared. And but there's something exciting. You know, I once heard, who did I once hear? It wasn't a oral thing. I read it, and it was a quote from Eddie Izzard, and Eddie was saying, "I write in molten lava," you know, so it's always in flow, and it's true. What when you show up to an audience, you show up with your story, and then the audience is your dance party. They show up with whatever steps they know, and they react to what you say. And if they're reacting really well, oh boy, you're cooking. If they're kind of like, you know, got their hands up saying, oh, I don't know, Emil, then it's going to be tough. Fortunately, I've had some great audiences here at the Fresno Rogue Festival. And so please check it out on, for me, my show, 5 o'clock Saturday at the Tower Room, Tower Yoga, the Lotus Room. Go to FresnoRogueFestival.org for tickets and check out some of the other great performers. Susan Jeremy, Joey Rinaldi, right? Martin Dockery, Donnie Yarborough, Jaguar Bennett. Oh, so many. Check them out. The Fresno Rogue Festival. Man, I know. I mean, I talked to Martin in that interview I did with him, and he said why the Fresno Rogue was so cool. He said, you know, it's just people out there at the foot of Yosemite. They care about this festival, and it's been around. I think they said it's been around like 20 years. I mean, it's been around a long time, and it's been a place for performers to just express themselves. And I'm talking about singers and dancers and, you know, traditional and non-traditional and voices, new voices. There's a new play, name escapes me, but it's about the Hmong. I know about the Hmong because as a reporter, I've covered many a story about newcomers from Laos, from Asia. And the Hmong have a story. The Hmong have a story. You know, one story. I was in Stockton, and there's this. It's a thing where the Hmong culture, they prepare young girls to marry the older men in their community. A lot of girls who were in high school needed daycare, and that's a story you don't see in public schools anywhere. The need for specifically Asian American, Hmong American daycare in the public schools. Eye-opening story for me. I was a reporter in Stockton at the time. Eye-opening story, but we were respectful of the culture, and yet I don't know. I guess that's a thing. It's not a stereotype. It's a cultural phenomenon, and I know some Hmong women sort of step away and try to avoid that, and some are caught in that. I mean, why else would you see daycare for Asian American kids in high school? So I'm going to try to see that show before I get out, or before Fresno ends. It's at the Labyrinth. Check out the Labyrinth. That's also where Martin is. Great little space, and I hope to come back to Fresno and perform in that space, because what a cool little black box. With the seats. It's intimate, a place to tell those stories that never get told, which is why the Rogue is so special. The Rogue Festival, the Rogue performance. Oh, there's a T-shirt, an old T-shirt. The new one features the Muse. I got that one too. It's in my bag. Anyway, that's it. Check out the column on the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund. This will repeat. Oscars this weekend. Jeffrey Wright, American Fiction. What an actor. I met Jeffrey Wright when I did a play in New York. Ishmael Reed's the conductor. He came by because he's a literate guy. What a story American Fiction is. I don't know if it's going to win an Oscar, but it's a great film. Great film. The Asian American film to watch is Past Lives. And if you are an immigrant and had a life over there and now you have a life over here, this is the story. I saw Past Lives about a year ago. I loved it. Of course, no one saw it back then. I mean, I think people are catching up now. But what a sensitive, provocative, and very heartfelt story about immigration and about what it's like to come to America without the life you know and building a life you do know, and then what happens when that life you know comes and intersects with the life you know now. Oh my God, conflict. A great story. We all can relate if we're a son or daughter of immigrants or descendant of immigrants, first, second generation. It's still time to see it. Past Lives. Of course, Oppenheimer, Barbie, all those have better shots to win Oscars, but Past Lives and American Fiction, they're among the long shots. I'll be watching on Sunday. All right, we'll be repeating this throughout the weekend. Thank you for joining me. We like to close with a little meditation, because meditation helps us, just reminds us not to honk the horn when someone is like slowed up in front of you, not to be impatient with people who are like, oh my God, dude, I thought we had this all worked out. For a guy who uses the term amok, I have learned to be less amok, which is actually better. And the way I've done that is through meditation. So, what works for me is a little loving kindness. You give it to others, and then it usually boomerangs back to you, and then everyone feels good. And so, as I wish for me, I wish for you. May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you live with ease. Emil Guillermo here. Till next time. Catch me at the Fringe, the Rogue Festival in Fresno, Saturday, 5 o'clock, Tower Room. Till then, Mahal Kita. Look it up. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. I'm not like swearing at you or anything. Mahal Kita. It's a good thing.